Hello, not a long video here, more a video just to vent a little bit about a prominent article recently printed in the Sun newspaper, printed just in time to coincide with the ongoing NEU teaching strikes for fairer and fully funded pay rises, where a certain Karren Brady, a rich businesswoman, argues that striking teachers should find another job, as all they are doing is making the current education crisis we find ourselves in worse. It's important to engage with these arguments which Brady puts forward because this article is the exact distilled misunderstanding of the issues within the education sector which right-wing outlets like The Sun are purposefully pushing in order to muddy the waters and dumb down the conversation. I'll link the article below just so you can read it for yourself and see that I'm not purposefully misrepresenting the column like Brady has done by misrepresenting the striking workers. The key problem with the opinion piece is in what it lacks, right? Which is an explanation of why teachers are striking. My feeling is that this has been done on purpose because at this moment, if you look objectively at the situation, teachers have a pretty good reason to strike. Let me explain. The current strikes organised by the NEU, or the National Education Union, have been taken for two reasons. Firstly, the pay offered to education professionals is well below inflation. A 5% increase if you are a teacher of the highest main pay scale which teachers can earn without extra responsibilities. The pay offer for more inexperienced teachers is actually higher, 8.9% if you're a first year teacher. This is to try and encourage more people into teaching, but it still falls short of inflation, and it's definitely not valuing the most experienced teachers. To put it plainly, the current offer is simply not enough for many professionals who have spent the best part of 13 years with below inflation pay rises anyway, meaning that professionals doing a very demanding job have seen their real terms living standards compared with the national average decline. These are the professionals who have been doing the job for a long time and, as you would expect, are the most experienced. The job over the past 13 years, might I add, has changed significantly and is continuing to evolve, with more and more pressure placed on schools to do things other than just educate. Teaching is a profession which requires incredible adaptability to provide the most up-to-date and effective teaching methods. Teachers' current pay, as Brady has pointed out, is still above the national average wage, but it should be. The demands of the job are also way above average. It's simpler to reply to Brady here with another question back at her, which is, where is the incentive to be a teacher anymore then? What on earth has happened to aspiration for the job? To put it into context, striking teachers are striking because they want to stay in the profession, but are seeing less and less reason to do so. Government recruitment numbers are falling well below targets, and teachers are leaving the profession in droves because, and this is a widely shared view among those who are leaving the job, the demands are too high and the salary can be met by less demanding jobs with the same skill set.
Victoria Hewitt is one of thousands of teachers who've thought of leaving the profession after the pressures of the job became too much. Today's survey says the long hours, the workload and the funding shortfall are driving teachers like her out of the classroom. Have you ever thought of quitting?
Many a time, particularly in the first 5 years. It was really, really stressful, really high workload. There was a lot of accountability that kind of put lots of stress onto me. And there were numerous times when I just wanted to leave the profession.
In a survey of more than 8,500 teachers, 2 in 5 plan to leave the job within 5 years. Most, that's 3 in 5, blamed their workload, and around half said their work-life balance was worse in the last year.
Exactly the reason people don't go into teaching is why people are leaving the profession. It's not that they're not hard working, it's that they've worked really hard for a decade and a half nearly, and seen the actual rewards at the end of it decrease in real terms compared to what they could have been earning. The second reason these strikes are happening, and this might shock you, is that the pay rises as they stand right now aren't actually properly funded, meaning that schools are stretching their budgets to meet pay demands set by the government.
What impact will these 3 days of strikes have on schools? Well, lots of schools will be affected. Many children will have to remain at home. And I want to say to you, Kay, we sincerely regret the disruption to children's education and to parents' working and home lives today. But we think we're taking action for a high moral purpose, to try and get the government to invest in this generation of children who are being ignored by this government. So there will be disruption on the 3 days of action. We regret that disruption, but we want government to invest in this generation of children.
Essentially, schools are being left out to dry financially, with little or no help, and they're raising the alarm. It's not like schools aren't raising the alarm about this. And teachers are partly striking to try and get these funds back into the schools so that their pay rises can be funded and the money isn't being taken away from children's education and other services provided by the schools. And you might think this is a fairly noble cause to give up your own pay packets for, but according to newspapers like The Sun, apparently not. I feel like I could get quite heated in my reply, and I don't just want to talk in circles and get annoyed. I will leave you with this though. It must be an incredibly difficult job to say both how important education is and how much of a vital role teachers play in the future of students, while simultaneously saying that teachers should shut up and get back to work without negotiating for fairer and fully funded pay offers.
Teachers are there out day in, day out, all across our country, literally changing children's lives.
It's been announced.
A decade.
It's been announced. They haven't had it in their budget yet.
They've had a decade of what many would describe as underfunding. I'm just wondering
I'd like to pick you up on that point, because if you listen to the IFS, they've now said with the additional...
Let's have a look at the IFS chart,
yes,
shall we?
Yeah, because the additional...
Let's have a look at the graphic from the IFS. So this is the school funding percentage of change per pupil since, you can see the line 2010 when the Conservatives first entered power, and you can see the private schools line in blue and the state schools line in red.
And I think it stops a year early. So if you go up to where we would be now with all the money we've announced...
My point, which is we're talking about a decade of what many people would describe as underfunding.